before, I've had to do it times three now because it's just a really, really trying time for everybody, and me included.
You know what? Just as a follow up to what you're saying, a lot of what you said, I started looking up things just dealing with depression because
Hmm.
I've noticed that I've had, I won't say necessarily bouts with depression throughout my life, but I can recognize different times based on
Hmm.
various things that I was either going through or those that are around me. I would go in and out of depression, and
Hmm.
it's something that it's not necessarily I used to tie it to, because I wouldn't have admitted that I dealt with depression. I
Hmm.
would tie it to, oh, I'm not depressed, I'm not gloomy, I don't feel this way all the time. It's just been 20 minutes out of the day,
Hmm.
whatever, I'll get it back together. I'll recenter myself with prayer, meditation. These are the things that I looked at earlier in my walk with God, because it was like such a bad word,
Hmm.
any type of mental issue that you have, especially in the Black community. Issue of
Yeah.
mental health is such a bad thing, whereas on the other end, and this is, I say, is a bad thing as far as perception, because on the other end of the spectrum, I have several serious physical health issues.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
not ashamed, or I don't get looked down on.
Right.
People will show compassion. Some people do, some people don't care. But
Hmm.
because I'll say, okay, this is going on. Oh, okay, well, I'll keep you in my prayers. Or, oh, okay, well, this person did doing this and that, and you have this huge support system, which is great. But as soon as you mention, I'm just down, or I'm just in a funk, I don't know what's going on, it's like, oh, you need to get together, you need to be in
Hmm.
prayer. The Lord
Mhm.
will, and we put the heavy, we're practical spirits, and we talked about balance the last week. But we we put so much on the spirit aspect
Hmm.
and the religious aspect, to a point, whereas it doesn't it doesn't even make sense, to be honest. It doesn't compute, just various catchphrases. I don't even want to get into some of the things that Christians have
Oh,
said to me and said to
no.
Hmm.
others. But
Hmm.
as I started to research just depression, I was finding that a lot of the things that you spoke of, the vitamin D, the sunlight, getting into a routine,
Hmm.
exercising,
Hmm.
reading, and being entertained, having fun, laughter. I mean, these are all things that that can build up to, keeping you
Hmm.
equipped with that thing. So I'm just really, really glad to hear you say a lot of
Hmm.
that, because it
Yeah.
just gets overlooked. And what I was doing, I was saying, okay, well, it's not that bad. It's just, if my depression, let's say, if it's out of the year, and let's say out of a year, if it's just 2 days out of the year but not full days, yeah,
Mhm.
it's not something that I struggle with, but it's something that still impacts me on a level that I can't see.
Hmm.
And it
Hmm.
impacts those around me on a way that I don't understand. So just if we can be so mystical and so deep and so spiritual to attest to what Paul says, now we see through a glass darkly, but then we'll
Mhm.
see face to face. We look not at the things which are seen, but the things unseen. If we can do that and apply that to the spiritual, it would make more sense for us to apply that to our mental as well, because we can't see what's going
Yes.
on,
Yeah.
and we
Right.
don't have a full understanding of how we're really processing things on a day to day, and really how we're processing everything that's going on. We don't have that full understanding,
Mhm.
as we think we do. And that, it's thankful that there are those that are in your field that are saved, that also operate in integrity as well, to a point that you have a passion about what you do. That's why it doesn't bother you when you're asked about it. So I just
Hmm.
wanted to just echo some of the things that you're saying. It just really does make sense, and it is an important thing to look at.
Absolutely, Tahim. And another thing that I didn't mention, but I wanted to definitely mention, is the importance of your B vitamins. Because just like you're saying, we are holistic beings, and so we have to look at this. We have to treat ourselves holistically, and so we address the spiritual, we address the mental, we got to address the physical too. Just at a base level, we're just not getting the nutrients that we need in our foods. Like that's just what it is. But that's a whole nother topic. But the reasons why we can, that's like I said, that's another show. But I had read an article recently in one of the psych magazines that I subscribe to, but it was talking about, the B vitamins. And I'm like, duh, yeah, but getting all of them. So anyway, I started taking a B vitamin that has all of the B vitamins, a Whole Foods one, and I'm telling you, like I noticed because I started noticing my mood taking a dip, like just persistent low energy, persistent, even getting to the point of some hopelessness, sadness.
Yes.
I started really, and I was like, okay, so I got to do something. Aside from the therapy and everything else that I was already doing. So I read that. I started taking B vitamin, a multivitamin, and it made a world of difference. And I'm like, see, we overlook this type of stuff, So taking care of our physical body is so important. So that's just to piggyback on the whole vitamin D and all the other practical things. And that, like you said, Tahim, when we tend to think of like, mental disorders, it's spooky, scary, I'm
Yeah.
not crazy or something.
Right.
It's not like this. Is just it's
Right.
practical stuff. Like our bodies physically and mentally, they're connected. And
Right.
so if the physical isn't right, it can affect our mental health and vice versa.
Right. And if we, and like you said, I'm going to turn it over to Rob, but like you said, it's nothing spooky about it. And, if someone gets offended by this statement, I'm not going to apologize. I'm going to refer you back to Hebrews, but Jesus dealt with mental health issues. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Jesus as the
Mm-hmm.
human, Jesus as
Yeah.
the Christ here on
Yeah.
earth, he
Yeah.
dealt with mental health issues. And, you see the extreme of that, when he reached a boiling point in the temple
Yes.
with the money changers, or
Yes.
in the prayer in the garden of Gethsemane, that agony,
Yes.
just that
Yes.
agony, he,
Yes.
and it's important to understand that we, in the Hebrews reference, it says, we have not a high priest who can't be touched with the feeling of our infirmities.
Amen.
And our
Amen.
infirmities, so it's not just a physical thing, and
Yep.
it's more so mental than anything, because I don't necessarily think that Jesus was dealing with high blood pressure, you
Right.
know, but there were other other issues there. But go ahead, Rob.
I'm just appreciative of her saying as far as she goes and sit in the chair as well, because I'm saying to myself as she's sharing all this information, I'm saying, well, where does she go to? Where is her, to and I'm looking at the scripture. The scripture talks about gifts of helps. And a
Mm,
lot of times we look at that and translate that to miracles and stuff like that, but that's not so. She works as a gifts of help that to help us, but like you say, we get so spiritual at times that we say, well, just getting your word and your word to do it, the word, and we know that. But the word itself says
mhm.
that we have gifts of helps. Now, what is that talking about? Different gifts for different helps. So I was going to ask her about, does she sit in the chair? Because like I said, I was looking at a Christian artist and he was talking about how when stuff gets so a well-renowned Christian artist, he was saying that it's sometimes the pressures of and the demand, and he has to sit in the chair every month for a couple of hours. And so I really thought that that was even humbling for her to say that, because some people wouldn't admit that. But my question is, where's the balance at? How do you know when it's okay, even in reading and getting strength from the word, but then what what is the sign that I need to go sit in somebody's chair? Because I know when you get, like, say, you the go-to girl, you the go-to woman. They come to you, and not understanding that even as they sharing you their stuff, it's really making a transfer to you. And if
Ooh,
you're not careful and how you deal with it, some of that depression that they're talking about, I believe it really, we attract ourselves to it because just the profession that you're in. So where is the balance at? When do you say, okay, enough is enough? I need to go and listen and sit and hear something. You know what I'm saying? When is that for you?
that is a great question. And for me, I probably wait a little too long, Rob. But when I start noticing um that I can no longer, the stuff that I am holding, like you just said, I'm so glad you mentioned that. The stuff that I'm holding, I
Mm-hmm.
no longer have that level of compassion that I would normally have.
Right. Okay.
Now I'm getting shorter. I'm getting irritable about it. I'm getting frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
My patience is thin. Then that's pouring out into my personal life. That for me is one of my telltale signs that, okay, you got to do something because now,
Calibrate, right?
yeah, yeah. So that's like one of my first signs for me is that, okay, this is beyond you just doing your normal self-care. You need to go. This is beyond just praying about it. This is, you need to go. You need to go talk to somebody. So yeah, because I always like to say the minute I lose, I'm no longer compassionate
Right.
for the
Right.
people that I serve. The
Right.
minute I'm numb to their pain, I gotta
Mm-hmm.
go. I'm
Right.
checked out. It's time to go because then I'm
Right.
no longer doing what I was called to do, and I'm no help. And
And
Right.
so,
see, when you say that, and that makes sense, and I'm gonna bring it, with the practical. That's the scientific. I'm gonna bring the practical side to it. Everything is not for everyone. So just because, like say for instance, it's been said that I'm a good communicator, and I pride myself on communication. That doesn't mean that because this interests me, and I have this interest in mental health, that doesn't mean that, okay, I'm going to start going to school for that and I'm a therapist. No,
Mm-hmm.
that does not mean that, because first of all, I have to be called for that. I have a passion
Mm-hmm.
for that, and then also I would have to acknowledge the fact that I need assistance with that as well. That's
yeah,
just like, I tell people it's odd if you aspire to be a pastor, if you
Mm-hmm.
aspire to be a
mm,
televangelist, things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature, because it's not that I say that you have to don't want, you just don't want to do that in order to be called. That's not what I'm saying. As I've heard that often, but it's just that you really have to find where you fit, because if not, in certain positions you can do a lot of damage to people.
whew, yes,
Just as teaching,
Mm-hmm.
as what we do. I understand that I'm called to teach, but more importantly than teaching, I say seek to teach, because I'm seeking for opportunities to be taught as well. I have to understand that then it's not just the Holy Spirit, but I have to understand that I need to constantly ask questions and
Yep.
constantly be taught, or I shouldn't be teaching anyone. You know what I'm saying? So what Erica Badu quoted something that, a man that knows something knows that he knows nothing at all. So
Yeah.
when you learn a little bit, like even now we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
It's so much more to learn. So we're definitely appreciative of your time. We have a few minutes left. I just have one last question. We spoke to anxiety before, and you broke down some differences, but what how does one that isn't balancing things out from a medical perspective, because anxiety is not something that I understand. I can't identify with that,
mm,
but how does one begin, like what is the starting point, if you think, because I see this a lot of people are dealing with anxiety, and
mm.
rightfully so, right now. But what would be kind of a starting point as far as identifying some things, and what would you recommend as a first step, to deal with this, not just anxiety, but any mental health issues, but specifically anxiety, I wanted to speak to.
And anxiety is another one that's an umbrella term because there are so many anxiety disorders. But you're probably just talking about the what's known as general anxiety disorder, just that garden variety, persistent worry. And I think
Right.
I mentioned this before, but anywho, with any mental disorder or what have you, the telltale sign is how does it interfere with your daily life?
Mm-hmm.
And so the number one thing always is this interfering with my daily life? And if so, how much? And so those with general anxiety disorder, it can go from waking up with heart palpitations, and
Mm,
then from
Mm-hmm.
there your whole day you're worried about, if you are having a heart attack or you have a cardiovascular issue that can interfere with, work, because now you're, instead of focusing on the task at hand, now you're worried about your physical health. But then it can go into from that to full blown panic attacks. and panic disorder is under that umbrella term of anxiety. That's a whole nother set of symptoms. And so with anxiety, though, you have a buttload, for lack of a better term, a buttload of symptoms, physical manifestations that you experiencing. Is not just your normal, okay, I'm about to go speak, I'm a little nervous. It's literally your heart rate is increasing, your breathing becomes a little more shallow, you're sweating, you're trembling, you might even feel weak. It definitely impacts your sleep. You're not able to sleep. Your stomach, a lot of stomach issues. That is really the root of it is anxiety, headaches, all of that stuff. And so all of that is anxiety related. A lot of ER visits end up being an anxiety related condition, and people don't know it because it's manifesting into, as a physical symptom, but it's really anxiety. And so, but like I said, if it starts to interfere with your daily life, that's how this is okay. This is something going on. This is not just nervousness. This is not like, worried about, okay, only got $500, but I got $1,100 in bills. Like, that's normal, right? To worry, like, how is this going to happen? But when it's beyond that, when it's beyond the scope of rational worry, does that make sense?
That does. That does.
Okay.
And I definitely thank you. Thank you for that. So we're gonna table it there. We'll definitely look forward to speaking with you again. I want to thank you for your time.
Absolutely. So great being with you guys again. We got to do this again soon.
Yes. As soon as you're ready, we're ready.
We on your schedule. Yeah, we on your schedule.
Okay. All right.
All right. God bless. Hang around, Rob. I'm gonna start the next topic. I'm gonna close this out. Thank you again, Ms. Tasha.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.